I want to say this is a great opportunity to come and be here today and share with you my story. You know, this year in April will be 30 years after genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. And if you asked me that I will be standing here today talking about my journey with you all for the Global Peace Summit, I will probably say, you are crazy. I will say, you don't know what you are talking about, but it's the genocide in 1994 against Tutsi in Rwanda was the tragic crime against humanity. It was a complex web of historical, political, and social factors, not simply a hatred one. While the hatred denied they played significant in mobilizing the majority Hutus to exterminate the Tutsi minority. It's important that we all come together today to understand, to avoid the harmful generalization about what happened in Rwanda in 1994. You know, there's some factors that, you know, people talk about. You know, I'm not well educated, but I'm getting there. I'm sitting in the midst of all of you all, and I started late. Better start late than never. So the historical long-standing of tension between Hutu and Tutsis community, it's rooted in colonialism ideology. There's a political and manipulation of the propaganda, and the Hutus, these politicians, they were bringing the narrative of the story of dehumanizing the Tutsi. And this variant began in '59. I know I'm getting old, but I wasn't born then. And the radio in Rwanda will be saying that they exterminate the Tutsis, and they will teach to a child, they will speak to everyone, and they will say the cockroach. You know, when you say a cockroach in Rwanda, or for everywhere, I guess, you are giving this slogan, when you see it, you crush it. So if you start dehumanizing a person and you call them any kind of the name to discriminate them, you are basically doing something that is the worst of humanity. So I will go through my journey. I want to take you back almost 30 years ago when I was a child. You know, we've read the stories of the children. I want to take you to my childhood and share with you the journey that I went into. You know, any story that will be written about me will be full of sadness, stained with the tears of blood, tainted with shame and hopelessness. I definitely had made a choice that this pain will not be passed on to my next generation. I want to protect them, but I also want people to know that the genocide isn't only the history of part of our lives, it's part of my life. So being a Rwandan means we are survivors. I am a survivor. I am a son or a daughter of a survivor. As a child, I had a dream to be a doctor. But the Rwanda I grew up in, it didn't allow me to be a safe place to develop my dreams. It's the time when the hatred was being planted, discrimination and insulting words were spoken over and over and over again. I have to say These insulting words destroyed my confidence. They created insecurity within me, and I lost the interest of going to school. And reason is, many times by my teachers, they were asked, how many Tutsis are here? Raise up your hands. And every time we raise up our hands to be identified as a cockroach, it was killing me one more time. My friends will be looking at me differently. And, you know, I was bullied. When I cry, I'm connecting to my humanity. So don't worry about it. Join me if you want. Because when we lose the sense of humanity, that's where it all starts happening. Do you know, the genocide ideology in Rwanda started in 1992. That's when I was able to know. It started before then. But when I knew as a person at 11, 10 years old, it was in 92. And during the peace agreement with RPF and the Rwandan government in Arusha, in Tanzania, for those who don't know, the Colonel Bagosora, who is Rwandan, he said, we are going to prepare apocalypse of Tutsis. That was one of the leaders. In the UN conference, in the peace agreement, a person who could bring something in the country, he said, I am going. He was determined to prepare apocalypse. So one day, this is before 1994, running to my father after work, he was drenched in covered with blood after being beaten by the Hutu in Interahamwe because he was a Tutsi, he was a cockroach. So I was at home running to my father, going to hug him. He was wearing a nice white shirt, but it was so bloody, and I didn't know what to do. It was every daughter sees their father as their hero. The person I knew that was my hero that time, he had this fear, he lost where he is, he was full of blood, and I was standing there. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I looked at him, and he grabbed me. So I hugged my father with the bloody shirt. And at that time, he was terrified. And we were all, and I don't know, the picture of my father that time, I think when I went to school next day and they were asking me if I am a Tutsi, I had to be honest, I was really afraid, because what went on in my mind was like, if I put my hand up, I don't know, I'm going to be like the picture I saw a few days ago. So the slogan of the cockroach in the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda was being spoken into the schools, and they were teaching the 11 years old and below then, what do you do when you see a human, a Tutsi? You crush them, you crush their dream, and I was bullied. And that's not. So, but I want to take you to the 100 days of raining blood. And so it was on the 6th April 1994. Sometimes I lose my time and the dates because it all looked the same to me. But on the radio, they said the President Habyarimana Juvenal, his plane was crashed. And my father said to us, to my brother and I, this is the end. This is the end. So we were about to go to bed. He told us to dress up, so wake up, put on your clothes. I wore one outfit for 100 days, never washed it. It was rained on, it will dry. We will get there, but that's just the start. And he said, this is the briefing I was given to my father on the first of the day. Don't hide together. Because if they see you all at the same time, they're going to kill you. Maybe there'll be one survivor. So what he feared the most, it was for 3 of us to die at the same time. So the next day morning, on the 7th, I saw a group of the neighbors, the Hutus, coming to my house to look for a cockroach. And they asked, where's the cockroach? So we were all terrified, and I was running around. I ran away from my house. And when I went out of the house, so if I bring you to the genocide at that time, they will have road blocks everywhere. And the people who are there will be having machetes. If you are rich or you are willing to pay the money, they will shoot you. But otherwise, they will have this big thing with the nails on, they will bang on your head. So I ran out of my house because people are looking for cockroach. And when I was going in that village, I found this woman. They just chopped her head off. The baby, I don't know if it was she or he, you know, in English, you are rich, you have all these pronouns, we don't have. It was just a child that was sucking its mother's breast when she was dead. Remember, I was 11 years old. I looked at this child, I was like, should I could I take her, you know? I am the firstborn in my family, so I knew how to look after children at 11 years old. Should I take this baby? Where will I go? So I am battering within me, but remember, I left things at home, and there's death all around me, so I am battering. Should I take this baby? What if this baby cries? Anyway, I had to abandon this child. I don't know if this baby survived. But when I left where this woman was laying, like in 2 meters ahead of me, there was a house that they already destroyed. You know, when I saw the worst of humanity, they were like, I lose the vocabulary to describe these people sometimes. So I sat in this house that was broken. I was in the corner, covering myself, imagining what I left at home, imagining what I just saw. You know, I like to watch movies, but I think I need to be one of those that are acting. So I thought it was a film, you know? And I was sitting there, I'm like, is this real? It is, because it happened. But I couldn't believe what I was going through. So I had the thought of going back to the house to see what happened. And I was hiding, you know, you just always have to be running, avoiding where people are. So I went back to my home, and my father and my 2 brothers were still there. And he took us to his friend, who is a Hutu guy. And he asked, "Can you please hide my children?" And this man took us in. And we stayed in his house for a few weeks. I can't remember for how many. But there's a time they found out that this man has cockroaches. And cockroach one, it was me, who was 11 years old. It was my brother, who was 9 or 8 at that time. There's my other brother, Emil, who was 6 years old then. And my youngest brother, who was 2 years old, was with my mom in the village because my mother was not with us when the genocide started. She was visiting her family back home in the village. So this man said, "Get out of here, they are coming to see you. And if they find you in my house, they are going to kill all of us." So we left his home, and I followed my father's briefing. We can't go together, so I went by myself. And I went to this Catholic church. Rwanda is not, it was the majority, the Christian people. So we went to this church. And the story I hear in 59 and 60s and 70s when the genocide was building up, they will say, if you will run from wherever war was happening and you get into the church building, that's your sanctuary, that's your safety place. So many people in 1994 ran into what is the church building, seeking for safety. I am sad to say that some of the church building back home in Rwanda are the genocide memorials because many people were murdered in the church building. So we went to this Catholic church. Hiding there. And the village people were getting so hungry, there's no food. So they came to the priest, that place, because they have a store of food. And people were stealing food, they were getting something to eat. I can't remember how many times I stayed among dead bodies in the church building, trying to grasp my breath that I don't know that I'm breathing. And I will come out in the evening. It gets dark about 6 in Rwanda. And it's April, it's the rain season. I will go out. I will take off my clothes. I had only one. I will wash it with my hands. I will take the blood out. I will put it back again. So I can walk, I can find a way to pass. Otherwise, if they see me with my clothes full of blood, you imagine what will happen. So I took one of the sack from the church that time, or the store of the priest. It had some beans in there, and I put off my head to cover my face. So one of the lies of people in Rwanda, they have a way of saying, when you look like this, when your nose or your face, it's evil, looks like that, means you are tooth. So I had to cover my face and at least walk so I won't have eye contact with people I meet. So I put this sack of beans on me and I was walking. Don't ask me where I was going, I don't really know. I walked, I stayed in the bush. A wild animal, some of you probably have visited some of the remote areas in Africa or somewhere else, you know. There's something you just you can't, I don't even know how to bring you to that place. When I'm walking in darkness and in the bush, and I'm terrified, afraid I'm going to be killed because I'm a cockroach. And then I find myself outside and I see people are looking at me funny because I look like a cockroach. That's what I was told. Can you imagine? They told me I'm not beautiful. You know, there's this thing that words that they create, and I walk, bend my shoulders because I'm not accepted, I'm not wanted, and it become you, and you believe it, you leave it out, and I was a problem. Anyway, welcome to my world. So, I don't know how many of you know a pit latrine, a toilet that is just a hole on the ground that hasn't been used for a long time and was full, stinking, and like, that was my list of worry, you know. Give me a stinking filled toilet to sit in if no one will see me to come and kill me. It was pretty nice, you know. It wasn't wandering around or staying outside in the bush, you know. It had a roof, but it was not, no one was using it. So that was my shelter, my hiding place for many weeks. But behind that toilet, there was a football field, and men will come and sit there. They'll be drinking their alcohol. They'll be talking about people they have killed. Some of them I knew them, because they'll be saying the names of the family members. They'll be either my friends from school, and they'll be saying, we haven't seen these people. So they were planning, we have to go to work. You know, we all wake up in the morning. It's like, you know, I'm getting ready. I'm going for the conference. It's a great time. You know, the last 2 days for me has been amazing. I don't know how about you. And people are sitting in that football field. They are talking, we have to go to work. We have to go to kill so-and-so. Or we haven't seen this family, or we saw only 2 of them. We don't know where the 3rd one is. And I was listening to them. I'm like, if they find me here, this is the end. So I lived with death, you know. Is that English? I don't know. I lived with death, like in that moment, listening to these men. Do you know why I was terrifying? They will be talking about the women they've raped. And I was like, if they find me, what is going to happen? So it's basic needs. I got hungry. No wonder I haven't been hungry for I don't know how many days then. But I was really starving. And I was like, what should I do? I walked out of my safety and I went wandering around. I dug sweet potatoes from someone's field. I ate them raw. They were not cooked. I drank dirty waters because I was thirsty. I haven't had anything to eat or drink for quite a long time. No wonder I still love sweet potatoes. It's one of my best thing, you know, but in UK they taste different. But I still love sweet potatoes because that was something that filled my hunger, that I had it for a long time, and I felt, you know, humanity, you know, when you lose the humanity, you start doing, you know, what everyone else will do who are killing people. Do you know, I stayed for, I'm jumping into the future, you know. I stayed for 15 years without crying after genocide. Now I cry like a baby. Isn't it good? You know. So walking, not sure where I was going, I found my brother Emil, who was 6 years old then. And in the war, in genocide, they were throwing grenades, and the fragment of grenade has hit my brother on his head, just like here. And his things, like the brain was just something white was out there. And he was saying, I want water. And he lifted his eyes and he looked at me and he recognized who I am. He said, Anto, can I have some water? I didn't have. I saw my brother dying. I couldn't give him what he asked for. I had to abandon him to go and hide. Because if the killers will find me even paying attention to my brother, you know what will happen. So I abandoned my brother Emil. And I went in the bush that time. It was getting in the evening. And I sat in the bush the whole night, awake. You know, when you look up to the sky and you see all these billion stars, and imagining what I have just seen, imagining left my brother dying, and I was sitting there like just, I saw the night going by and the morning came, and this Interahamwe, or the group of the killers, was sending the dogs into the bush to hunt. So they were, when these dogs were running around the bush, you know, I could hear, they're saying, you know, I ran away from one of the bush that I was in to my worst day. When I ran out of this place, I just ran into the group of people that were on the queue to be murdered. And they said, look, that cockroach. You know, they took my father's name. Bring her, bring her. So I came, I joined the club of those who are going to be murdered. Was normal. I was dead anyway, so I wasn't really. At that time, I was not fearful, you know. There is a level of fear you get into, and you just think it's normal. That's what, at that time, that's what was normal for me. So I joined the club, joined the queue of the Tutsis, young, old, that are just waiting to be murdered. And some of these people were just hiding or coming from the houses, they were coming from the bush, and we joined the queue. I told you, when you had, they will say, you know, give us some money or sign a check for us if you want to be shot. So they had gun. So if you wanted to be, you know, I'm looking for the English word, you know, to die, you know, there is, sorry to say, I'm not trying to, you know, put you down, but we will all die, yeah? Yeah? So, but they, in that context, there's what they called, like, you know, if you want to die well, I don't know, dying well or not well, I don't, you know, translate into your own language, you know what I mean? You could pay and then they will shoot, you know. But if chopping your head off or whatever thing. So I was dead, I was numb, not connecting to my emotions. And one chop throw in the big hole that was there. And the queue was getting short. Oh, this person is gone, the other person is gone. You know, sometimes we talk about trauma. I don't even know if that's true. I don't know. When you find a good word to describe that, let me know, because I want to write my story one day. So when there was about like 3 people ahead of me, someone spoke, the bank in Kigali is being broken into. And the killers ran away to get money. Because, you know, it's Bank do Kigali, you know, and that's, you know, when you are waiting to die, and they're just near you, and you see them running, you get confused. Instead of, I was so confused, to be honest. They're going for money, you know. And someone behind me said, you know, they're gone, we can go and hide. The thought of going to hide again was not even there, because I was already dead. So I went again to seek for a safe and refuge into the bush, and I was hiding there, and, you know, still in my dreams and looking, I'm still alive. You know, sometimes I pinched myself a few times. Am I alive, you know? And the worst thing on that day when I ran away from that queue, it was to see the dogs holding the piece of body for someone. Seeing people's head being chopped off in front of my face. I was mentally, emotionally, Let's move from that incident, because it's So I survived that day, and it was miserable. As 11 years old, I saw things that no one, the introduction said, never, you know, what happened to Rwanda, the lesson for everyone should have been never again. Do you know? You know better than me, it's happening again. Have we learned the lesson? Has the world learned the lesson of all these things we are talking about? I hope, and as we listen to different speakers that are sharing what they're sharing today, can we be committed, peace, not only keepers, peacemakers, to be committed that this will come to an end? At least play your role and your part to bring these things to an end. 30 years later, it's still happening. I will leave that with you to figure out because I'm still not sure. I turned 12 years old during the genocide, and my mother was murdered on my birthday. So I know how to be alive and still not know how to celebrate. I know how it feels to blow the candles on my birthday cake and grieving the death of my lovely mother who was murdered on my birthday. My two brothers who were murdered during the genocide, I told you one who was a male, 6 years old. The 2-year-old, because in the village, in a place called Bisesero, where my mother is from, they were put together with other 50 children in the village because the mother could not run away or hiding with the children, but they will put them somewhere where they will come and bring them some food when no one is seeing them. They burnt 50 children in that village, including my 2-year-old brother, because one Hutu man saw one of the mother bringing something to these children, and he brought not the petrol, the paraffin, and they burnt that place, and all the 50 children, the noise and the cry of the babies, and you know, you lose your sense of humanity if a child can cry and you can't do anything about it. That's the worst failure anyone can go through. So these children, they screamed. They said, sorry, we will not be Tutsis again. They're no longer, they are gone. But we live, you know, some of these traumas we talk about, you know, people ask me, how do you cope? I don't know how I cope. I learn how to live with this reality that I lived in, that, you know, you have to learn how to live with the reality. You know, some of you, it's the Hotel Rwanda you watched, which has some distorted stories in it. And others will be like with the Sometimes in April, those are the film that were produced by Rwandan. But for me, I have to learn how to cope with it because it's no longer a film, it's part of the life that I went through. So this has been a darkest valley of, you know, the shadows of memories and things that I have to, you know, I have to face every time. But my desire is to leave a legacy. You know, my mother loved to cook, loved to welcome people. You know, she was a tailor. She, You know, or some of these women in the village will come and say, oh, can you make us this? You know, she was always looking after people in one way or the other. You know, you must be possessed by evil to kill her, to be honest, you know. But I want to leave this legacy of somehow find my strength and learn how to leave a legacy and find the best into people. And so the greatest legacy that I want to leave for my family or for my mother is to take care or to touch the lives of those people who survived, who are children and don't have anyone to look after them. So the president of Rwanda, Kagame, once said in one of his speeches, we cannot let our past define our future. We must learn from it and move forward. Yeah? You know, some speeches people give, when you think about, I was like, you know, how does that even work? Because I'm still living it out and finding out how do I really learn from the tragedy of the worst of humanity from 1994 genocide against Tutsi and move forward and be a person and be a human that will inspire other people to live the best version of themselves. I can try, and I will invite you to join me in that. But these stories speaks life, and they create the world that we all desire to live in. Sometimes this storytelling, the speakers keeps telling us that it feels like a baby step. So the first time I was asked to share my story, it was 5 long, like it felt like eternity for me to speak my story for 5 minutes. I couldn't. It feels like sometimes a baby step to be able to share what I share with you. But it's so important that the offspring will know everything, or most of the things about Rwanda. They will know the country that I grew up in, and I want to show them Rwanda today. I actually would like to show you Rwanda today, because the Rwanda I grew up in for all those 100 days, if it happened again, like it will not be on the map, it will just be no Rwanda. We won't be talking about Rwanda. But let me tell you what the words the President Kagame said, how inspired me and inspired some of the Rwandan, is he said, people who were once robbed life, we will not take life for granted. Even in the darkest night, we want to shine. So coping with life after genocide. Oh, thank you. Thank you. This man is amazing. You need to, thank you so much, you know. So take courage and bring hope. Active hope, not hoping, you know, this fantasy thing. Be active. Whew. 100 days, it's over. So that's a glimpse of what I went through for 100 days. Without mentioning that one day they asked my father to dig his own grave. And he said, no, if you want to kill me, but I'm not digging my own grave. And he promised one of these guys to, in Rwanda, when you have cows, that's actually, so important. You have everything. He said, I will give you a cow. And for some reason, this man didn't kill him that day. He said, when he survived, if he ever survived, I will get a cow. So he survived. But let me take you to my life after. So it's too much of depressing. Let's come out of that. My first job after I finished my high school. Remember, I told you I lost interest in going to school. But after genocide, I went back to school, and I was in boarding schools. Sometimes I didn't have where to go, so I would stay at school because I don't have a place to go. Some of the family that took me in took advantage of me. I won't go into that. So I finished my high school and I started my first job. The first job is like the first day at school. In 2004, it was 10 years after genocide. And it was the time they were rebuilding the Kigali Genocide Memorial. I honestly didn't know what I applied for. There were vacancies, and you don't need experience, you will be trained for what you are going to do. And, I needed money, I finished my high school, so I went to find a job. And my first job was to go around in the villages, one of the villages in Kigali, to find out how Tutsis were being killed, what weapons were being used to murder them, what was their last word, and if they were children, what was their dream. And sometimes you bring, you bring your information, you give to your supervisor, and you need to go back to this, what you are bringing. Do you remember where is, talk to people again, find out more details. This job, it woken me up from a nightmare that has lasted for 10 years. 10 years before 2004, I didn't want to think. If I was in the middle of people who talk about what happened for them in the genocide, to protect myself, I ran away. I don't get into those conversations. I did tell some of the people we had a conversation yesterday, can you believe I was the stubbornest child in the high school? They will always say, you are so difficult. And I'm like, And no one knew how to help me, and I didn't know how to help myself then, but anyway. So that work, I lived again the trauma of the genocide, and I will not sleep, I will wake up, but I want to share with you the job, what that job, 6 months work, what left with me. I felt the sense of ownership. It was a way of giving dignity. The people we've lost, 1 million people that we've lost during the genocide. That was the best thing at that time I could do, is to find out the information, is to pay the cost of not sleeping and finding out how they were killed. And then after that job, somehow within me, I was like, I can't live into this country in April Not another time. When it's not April, I was okay. But during that season of genocide, the 7th of April to 4th July, I didn't know how to live in Rwanda after that time. So I went to Tanzania, so that's why I learned my Swahili. If you speak Swahili, I like to practice. I went to Tanzania. I went to study English. You know, can you believe I wasn't speaking English then? I don't know. I have just been speaking for almost, I don't know how many minutes, you know. And then I went to study. I went to learn English, teaching English. They were teaching me how to speak and everything. And every place I went, they will be asking me, are you a killer? You know, there's a word they use in East Africa, you know. So who are you? Are you a Hutu? Are you a killer? And it really, I just wanted people to know, you know, I am, you know, a person. I'm a human. Why do you have to qualify me to be a survivor or a killer or like it was just something that but anyway, that experience brought me to want to learn about peace and reconciliation. And I was doing a discipleship training school within Youth with a Mission when they announced about the School of Reconciliation and Justice, yeah? And I was like, I should go to learn about reconciliation and justice and, you know, but you have sometimes the desire we have, I personally have to check, do I really want to know about reconciliation, or is just because it sounds amazing? I wasn't ready, but I wanted it. So I came to UK to do a training with reconciliation and justice. And my question was like, do I really want to be a peacemaker? Or do I want to do I want to keep peace when it's there? So those are the two things that I want to find out. But I wanted to go beyond and do reconciliation in this troubled world, my world, you know. You need to start where you can reach. So I want to share my reconciliation and forgiveness journey that I learned. So some of the history of Rwanda, when a child is born to a father who is a Hutu, you get your tribe or from your father. So one of my auntie, bless her, she died and she was killed by her husband. And they had 5 children, my cousins. And this man was in the prison. You know, when we talked in this school about reconciliation and about, you know, I couldn't put my finger on it. But I want to share this journey with you that is through these storms of emotions and everything else, I just wanted to know what was going on into this man when he killed my sweet aunt. She was amazing, you know. She's, you know, the village auntie. You know, I grew up in Kigali, you know. Now it's beyond, but that time, if you are living in the village like my auntie, like she was, no, so for someone to kill her, not a stranger, a husband, someone they had 5 children with, I still I just wanted to find out what was going on into this man's head. So that's how I started my journey through these storms of forgiveness and reconciliation. I know we have different view on it. Some people think it's not possible, and I agree with them to some point because it's still very difficult for me even right now, but it's possible. So I went through the journey of visiting this man in the prison, and just I had to live like, you know, I want to forgive this man. Or I even said a few times, I have forgiven these people. You know, you have to find a way of living in this life. I forgave these people. I don't want anything to do with them, yeah? Live your life, and I live my life. But when I was going through this journey, to go and see this man in prison, you know, you have to appreciate having friends. You know, the worst of humanity, or the worst people, exist, but the people who will challenge and inspire you and walk with you, they also exist. So the good people also exist, yeah? So I had a privilege of walking with people through this storm of journey to go to the prison. And I tried to quit many times. I'm like, I'm going to pay my money to the flight to go back to Rwanda. I got to see this man in the prison. Actually, in the common, you know, again, the pinching came back again. I'm like, actually, am I crazy? Am I getting stupid? Like, I couldn't. But I gained my strength again. I'm like, you know what? I need to see this man. I need to meet him. Somehow I don't know, I won't be able to orchestrate what is that. But somehow I was like, I need to see this person. Do you want to know if I saw him? Oh, you look like you're not interested, so I'm moving over that. So I went with two of my friends in Rwanda, and we went to see this man in prison. When he came, no one, not even his children, has ever visited him in a prison, yeah? And we found out that my aunt was killed because of, in Rwanda, we had a traditional court. When people will come together in the village, they will sit, they will say, this is the witness, people will say what they saw. So someone, you know, they knew, the village said, you killed your wife. So he went back into prison for more years because the whole village knew that, you know, he murdered his wife. So since then, no one came to see him. And the guards at the prison, they said, there's someone coming to visit you. Because I didn't give a notice. I don't communicate to him. So why will I give a notice I'm coming to see you? I just showed up to the prison. So he came. I was sitting with my two friends, holding tight to them. Find someone to hold tight to. If you find a good friend, don't just despise them. So this man came. And I said, do you know me? And he said, yeah, I know you. You look like your grandmother, my mother-in-law. You look exactly like her. He couldn't even remember my name. What is your name again? Because I'm closer to his firstborn. She's older than me, like only 2 years. I gathered my strength. And I said, yeah, I came to visit you. I came to say, I've forgiven you. Do you know he didn't say sorry? He looked at me. I looked at him. I looked at my friend. And that was it. And he said, do you see my children? If you see them, tell them I was a coward. But sorry, not. They don't want to see him because they have to go through their journeys as well. And I won't talk about that for their. But we sat, it was a short visit, less than 20 minutes, but it had the profound impact to me. I don't know about him, but he had some, like after that time, you know, forgiveness is my choice. It's a hard choice to make. Is it easy? I have to say, I still find it so difficult when people are distorting the story of Rwandan, and or if I meet someone that is really making fun of. I find it so difficult when I have to go through the journey of forgiveness. If I tell you that it gets more easier, I'll be lying, and I don't want to, because it doesn't make it easier just because I saw this man. But he made it possible for my well-being. If that's the lesson I needed to learn personally, oh, I will take it, because it made me who I am today. Taking the courage and go and see this man. But do you know why I went to see this man? So when they found out, or when through this gachacha, they said this man killed my auntie, they even pointed the village where they throw her, or they put her. So I went to find the bones of my auntie. Talking about the traumatic experience, I don't even know how to explain this. I took my auntie's bones from the village. I had to bury her. So that journey of gathering my auntie's bone, you know, I had to play it around, and I had to make hard decision. How do I take her? Involves the financial part of it I didn't have then. And going to bury my auntie that was killed by her husband. Like, somehow, that's why I think that I felt like I want to go and see this man, is the connection I had with his wife, my aunt, when I was like, who will kill? You know, I'm holding, you know, washing my auntie's bones. And, you know, the best thing I could give her is to give her a respect and bury her. But that brought life to give her dignity that she deserved. She doesn't have to be on the imusozi. That's a Rwandan word. I don't know how to translate in English. Ask someone else. Or when I am. So the journey of forgiveness I had wasn't easy, but it was possible for me and brought healing. That was the point. Reconciliation, it's possible. Those are the stories you will hear from Rwanda many, many times. And yeah, That's why, if you want, I will take you to learn from the real people, you know. I'm just thinking, what should I leave you with, you know? You're amazing, vibrant generation, and as you listen up, I would like you to hold within you the power of peace and the change you can bring into this world we are in. You know, the great General Secretary of UN who just introduced me once said, ending racism and discrimination and building more peaceful world means following the lead of young people like you, all who are gathered here. You are the strongest, the loudest voice calling for change. Yeah? So, keep your voice raised. Keep your heart open. And be bold. Remember, it's not only what we say, it's what we do. Channel your passion into action. Every person who stood here for the last few hours, they said action. So your passion, turn it into action. Use your creativity to find a solution, and let your courage guide you through the challenges. Together. Together. Yeah? Together. Let's bring this powerful voice at one time. Bring peace. Peace in your heart. Peace within me. Peace around me. And peace for all of us. So be the change you want to be. Thank you.